We live in an era where the media and society are trying to control our minds in ways we don't even notice. With every click, every new video or post, we're bombarded with content that sexualizes our perceptions and manipulates our desires. But is this constant pursuit of pleasure really bringing us happiness? It may sound controversial, but what many call freedom is actually chaining us to an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. If you've ever felt that no matter how much pleasure you seek, it's never enough, the answer might lie in how society has conditioned you to act. The problem is that few people talk about it. Open any of your social media apps and you'll be flooded with images and content that sexualize almost everything. This phenomenon is widely discussed by philosophers like Guy Debord, who in The Society of the Spectacle points out how the entertainment culture turns even the most intimate relationships into commodities. TV shows, music, and social media are saturated with sensual stimuli that keep us trapped in an endless pursuit of immediate pleasure, without considering the side effects of such behavior. And the most intriguing part is that this cycle feels natural, as if it were an inevitable part of daily life. It's easy to see why most of us don't notice the impact of this continuous sexualization. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, spoke about the life instinct, eros, which drives us to seek pleasure. However, when this pursuit becomes uncontrollable, we enter a state of emotional anesthesia. The more we seek easy pleasure, whether through sexualized content or social media, the less we realize that we are losing the ability to find satisfaction in activities that require effort, such as building a career or forming a genuine relationship. We are constantly chasing the next stimulus without considering what we are sacrificing in the process. But why is this anesthesia so appealing? Jean Baudrillard, in Simulacra and Simulation, explores how modern society lives in a reality of simulations, where the pursuit of immediate pleasure overshadows self-awareness and authenticity. The constant pleasure provided by media-driven sexualization prevents us from reflecting on our actions and choices. When we're immersed in this type of content, it's as if we're being manipulated not to think about the long-term consequences, superficial relationships, lack of purpose, and, most importantly, a disconnection from our own values and desires. The problem is that the longer we stay caught up in this relentless pursuit of pleasure, the harder it becomes to escape. Instant gratification keeps us captive, always chasing the next dopamine high, while our real goals and dreams fall by the wayside. Breaking free from this cycle may seem challenging, but awareness is the first step. And speaking of that, a fundamental change that can put you back in control is something that seems simple yet crucial. Stop consuming pornography. Although it may sound like obvious advice, giving up pornography is harder than many people think because it triggers intense dopamine spikes in the brain, similar to those caused by substances like nicotine or highly caloric foods. According to studies published by the American Psychological Association, APA, consuming pornography can alter brain structures, impairing the brain's reward system, which reduces desire and satisfaction in real relationships. This constant search for artificial stimuli can lead to a sense of dissatisfaction, even in moments of genuine intimacy. Carl Jung, in his exploration of the unconscious, spoke about how repetitive behaviors can create unconscious patterns that, when left unchecked, shape our choices without us even realizing it. By eliminating pornography, we begin to break free from these harmful patterns. Beyond its impact on desire, research from the Max Planck Institute shows that pornography is associated with a reduction in the volume of certain brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-control and decision-making. Once you eliminate pornography, this damage starts to reverse. People report a rapid recovery of healthy sexual desire and a significant improvement in energy, creativity, and overall well-being. Renowned psychologist Jordan Peterson has also emphasized the importance of reclaiming the vital energy wasted on immediate pleasures and redirecting it towards real and meaningful achievements. This type of change boosts confidence and provides a considerable advantage for those seeking authentic relationships. When you stop consuming pornography, the improvement in emotional well-being is evident. A study published in the Journal of Social and Clinical Psychology reveals that individuals who abstained from pornography for long periods experienced a significant enhancement in mood, focus, and the ability to relate more empathetically. Philosopher Michel Foucault, in his studies on power and control, argued that forms of pleasure are often shaped by social and cultural structures that can imprison us. By freeing ourselves from these vices, we begin to take charge of our own desires and behaviors, building healthier and more purposeful relationships. This first step is deeper than it may initially seem. It not only frees the brain from harmful patterns, but also restructures our view of pleasure and relationships. Giving up pornography opens the door to a truer understanding of oneself and others, promoting a level of self-control that most people never achieve. If the challenge of quitting seems daunting, just wait until you realize the power of redirecting the time and energy wasted into more productive pursuits, such as the next step, stopping the chase for women. This step might sound controversial, but it's essential to understand the reasoning behind it. Many men spend excessive time and energy chasing women and consuming pornography, and this obsession ends up diverting focus from truly important goals. German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer discussed in his works the nature of desire and how, if left unchecked, it can lead us to a life of frustration and dissatisfaction. The endless pursuit of validation or superficial romantic conquests may seem like a priority, but in reality, it steers individuals away from more lasting opportunities, such as personal development and professional growth. Instead of spending hours thinking about and investing in fleeting conquests, imagine if that time were channeled into productive activities. A study by Time Use Research revealed that, on average, men spend a considerable amount of time accessing pornographic sites or engaging in activities with no significant return. This time could be used to learn a new skill, such as programming, playing a musical instrument, or even starting a business. This is precisely what the Stoic philosopher Seneca advocated in his reflections on the wise use of time. It's not that we have little time, but more that we waste too much of it. The key lies in redirecting this energy. When one stops chasing external validation, they begin to realize that there's more satisfaction in building something lasting. In the famous book Mastery by Robert Greene, the author talks about how constant dedication to a goal can bring results that go far beyond immediate pleasure. By developing skills or investing in your career, you not only become more valuable to yourself, but also more attractive to others, including potential partners. After all, nothing is more appealing than a focused individual who knows where they want to go and has control over their emotions and impulses. This step is really about making a smart trade of priorities. The time you would have spent chasing superficial relationships or consuming content that adds no value can be redirected towards self-development. It's not about ignoring or avoiding love, but about understanding that the relentless pursuit of external validation diverts focus from what truly matters. And to break this cycle, it's also essential to understand how dopamine patterns influence our choices, which brings us to the next step. The human brain operates based on patterns, and consuming pornography and seeking quick pleasures create vicious cycles of dopamine imbalance. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky explains that the brain, when exposed to constant stimuli, seeks more novelty and intensity to achieve the same dopamine release. However, these sudden spikes of pleasure aren't sustainable and eventually lead to frustration. What initially seemed like a source of relief or pleasure eventually turns into an endless cycle of dissatisfaction, where true pleasure becomes increasingly unattainable. When a person decides to break these negative patterns, they are in fact taking the reins of their own life. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, in his work Beyond Good and Evil, talks about the importance of self-control and overcoming primitive instincts. He argues that true power lies in mastering one's impulses and turning weaknesses into strengths. By interrupting the consumption of pornography and other sources of easy pleasure, individuals begin to experience a gradual return to emotional balance. Small actions like meditation, physical exercise, and reading can help reinforce this self-control, stimulating the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for emotional regulation. By breaking these cycles of dopamine imbalance, a person starts to experience a form of pleasure that is more enduring and less volatile. They free themselves from the constant need for external stimuli and begin to find satisfaction in activities that previously seemed insignificant. The discipline acquired by controlling these impulses reflects in all areas of life, from the ability to focus at work to developing healthier relationships. Controlling one's sexual desires goes beyond individual benefit, as it directly impacts social relationships and how we interact with others. When someone seeks pleasure through videos or other external stimuli, they often overlook what's happening behind the scenes. The person on the other side of the screen might be facing extreme situations, such as depression, the use of antidepressants, or even being forced to participate in that content solely for money. By consuming this type of material, we are, albeit indirectly, fueling a system that exploits human vulnerabilities and turns lives into commodities. Philosopher Theodor Adorno spoke about the culture industry, where content production often serves an alienating purpose. And in this case, the pleasure is empty for both sides. True empathy begins when we put ourselves in the shoes of those people. Are they there by conscious choice, or are they trapped in a cycle of exploitation and suffering? When we consume this type of material thoughtlessly, we are contributing to the perpetuation of this cycle, keeping an industry alive that does not prioritize the well-being of its participants. This pursuit of pleasure is futile because it brings genuine satisfaction to no one, not to the consumer, nor to those being exposed. Empathy invites us to see beyond the surface and consider the human consequences of our actions. We're not just watching a video, we're participating in a system that often destroys lives. Once you start developing this awareness, your perception of what true pleasure is begins to change. Genuine pleasure does not come from a one-sided interaction where one party is being objectified or exploited. It comes from authentic connections where both parties are truly present and consenting. When you consume pornography, this real connection simply doesn't exist. As a result, pleasure becomes an empty cycle, always seeking more and more without ever reaching satisfaction. French philosopher Michel Foucault discussed how power structures shape human behavior and how we are often led to participate in systems that exploit others. Pornography is a clear example of this. By practicing empathy and beginning to see others as complete human beings, with feelings and suffering, we gain a new perspective on our own pursuit of pleasure. This leads us to reflect on how our actions affect not just ourselves but others as well, directly or indirectly. Developing this empathy puts us on a path of self-control and respect for both ourselves and others. And it is precisely this self-control that makes us more valuable in relationships. When we master our desires, we become someone who not only seeks pleasure but also offers something of genuine value in every interaction, which is one of the secrets to becoming more desirable. In a world where instant gratification is the norm, resisting impulses sets you apart in a powerful way. Studies show that people with greater self-control are seen as more trustworthy and successful. By mastering your desires, you create space for deeper connections, as you're not constantly chasing quick and superficial pleasures. This not only improves your relationships but also enhances your emotional well-being. Therefore, this mastery is a powerful tool that resonates across all areas of life. Neuroscientific studies indicate that the brain responds differently when we are truly challenged. Difficult activities like learning a new skill or exercising regularly release dopamine in a more balanced and sustained manner. This creates a sense of satisfaction and well-being that doesn't fade quickly like it does with pornography or other quick pleasure addictions. When we learn to enjoy difficult things, we're training the brain to value the effort, not just the immediate outcome, building a solid foundation for success in various areas of life. The real challenge lies in overcoming the mental impulses that pull us toward the easier path. There's no one to monitor your progress in this process. It all depends on you. But, as demonstrated in positive psychology studies, the conscious effort to resist immediate rewards and embrace challenging activities leads to substantial personal growth. This mindset shift is what puts you ahead of most people. And once you break free from these vices and learn to appreciate the effort itself, you'll find yourself better prepared to achieve success, whether at work, in relationships, or in any other area of your life. Have you ever stopped to think about how many areas of your life could be transformed if you applied this knowledge? The decision to control your desires and stop chasing superficial pleasures isn't just a moral or philosophical issue, it's a life strategy. Ask yourself, how much time and energy are you wasting on behaviors that don't bring you any return? And what if you redirected that energy to become the person you've always wanted to be? The change starts today, and it depends entirely on you. What are you going to do from now on to break free from the patterns that hold you back? How will you transform your routine and choices to live a more fulfilling life? Leave a comment below. I want to hear about your struggle. The good news is that with the right tools and the necessary discipline, you can get ahead of most people and build relationships and a career that truly matter. It's time to step out of your comfort zone and face these challenges with courage. If this content made you reflect, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue learning how to master your impulses, control your mind, and build a successful life. We're just getting started on this journey of transformation.